Welcome to Rhythm and Roads, Las Vegas. I'm your host, Joshua Jacob. On my new series, Everything is Possible, my next guest, it's an incredible guest. He actually has over 3 decades, has performed more than 10,000 shows around the world, and has the #1 Neil Diamond tribute show, Sweet Caroline. Welcome, Jay White, to the show.
How you doing, Josh?
Hey, Mr. White.
Good to see you.
Oh my God, such a pleasure to have you on the show.
Well, thanks.
Yes, sir. I got to see your show during the 4th of July weekend at
Okay.
SouthPoint.
Right.
Want to say, incredible.
Thank you.
5-star, like a resort, like it's just diamond experience. Yeah, it was.
Oh, good.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
But I want to say congratulations too. Over what, 30 years you've been doing this?
Yeah.
Longer.
Yeah. 35
wow.
plus
35
years.
plus
Yeah,
years.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
I moved to Vegas in 1990.
Okay.
Joined Legends in Concert brought me out to Vegas and had me
really?
audition
Okay.
for the show back in '90 or in '89 actually, and so by 1990 he'd put me into the show, which was at that time was at the Imperial Palace. Of course,
wow.
the Imperial Palace is now gone,
Yeah,
and that building has been redesigned, and I think it's called the Link. But
Okay.
that's where Imperial
where it was
Palace
at.
was for quite a few years. Yeah, a couple of decades or more. Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't. Wow. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into your story, the foundation of
Right.
where it all began with Jay White. So we can go back to, I believe, 1978 when you first had the desire to want to pursue this with Neil Diamond of a tribute.
Well, in '78 was the first time I saw him in concert.
Wow, okay.
It was back in Detroit, Michigan, where I grew up. At Pine Down Music Theater, and I had gone there. A friend of mine said, "Hey, do you want to go?" And I thought, well, I don't really know who he is, but sure, why not?
Okay.
So I went to see the concert, and within the first 10 minutes, I was hooked.
Oh.
I thought, what a phenomenal performer, especially after his 2-hour plus show.
Yeah.
I thought, what a great performer, and the songs were honestly the most beautiful songs I'd ever heard.
my God.
I felt a real identity and identification with the music, the lyrics that he had written for these songs, and so it became very special. I started running out and buying albums at that point.
Really?
And
After that, you were hooked.
I was only in my early 20s at the
Oh,
time,
my God.
but yeah, I was hooked, and so it wasn't for another 5 years after that before I actually got an opportunity in Detroit to start singing and performing as Neil Diamond. But I had
Wow.
done several things during that 5-year period that kind of led me there.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah,
And what were
yeah.
you doing during that 5-year period?
So during the 5-year period, I started performing with a couple of local theater groups.
Oh, okay.
So I was one of the barbershop quartet in the Music Man play,
Oh, wow.
the musical. I was in the Fiddler on the Roof.
Fiddler on the Roof as well?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
I was
That's a
in a
classic.
play there called Inherit the Wind,
Okay.
which is another classic dramatic play. And so I got to do some musicals, some dramatic plays, and that just was fun. I wasn't getting paid at the time for those things. So they were just local community groups.
Okay.
And so I was doing that, and then from there I went to a audition for a top 40 band, and was singing as myself in this top 40 band, just
Wow.
hits of that time period of the 80s.
Wow.
And then I even sang with an a cappella doo-wop group
Wow,
for
really?
a couple of years, where it was just 4-part harmony, no
Wow.
instruments, stuff like from late 50s and early 60s, Blue Moon and Ramalama Ding Dong and songs like that.
Interesting.
And so that's kind
Wow.
of, as I was doing those things during that 5-year period, people would come up to me and say, "Hey, has anybody ever told you, you sound a little bit like Neil Diamond when you sing?"
Oh, wow.
And I thought, gee, I'm not really making an attempt to do that.
Yeah.
I was just, like I said, performing as me.
Right.
But I guess the natural sound of the voice was already there,
Right.
which was very helpful.
Oh, very helpful.
And so at the time I had a mustache, I had short hair, and I thought, well, gee, I wonder if I style my hair like his. I wonder if I shave off the mustache,
Yeah.
maybe I could do something more with this thing, maybe perform his songs somewhere. And so in 1983, a club owner in Detroit decided he was going to start a tribute show at his club.
Okay.
And so he had worked with an Elvis Presley guy from San Francisco, Max Pellicano.
Okay.
He had worked with him a couple of times and decided that he was going to bring Max in. The club owner himself actually looked and sounded like Kenny Rogers.
Wow,
So the
okay.
two of them were going to be in the show, and then they were looking for other people to audition. Well, like I said, over that 5-year period, from the comments that I got from people, I'd heard about the auditions for this show. I went and auditioned for them, and he said, "All right, we'll hire you. You're in."
Wow.
As Neil Diamond. And so that's kind of where the whole thing started.
That was the start, huh?
He was gonna run the show for about 6 months, and we were there for 5 years. And so that worked out. That was a nice training ground for me
Oh, yeah,
to kind of
of
learn
course, right.
learn Neil's songs, to learn to perform as him the way he did on stage during his peak decades of the 70s, 80s, and 90s, you know.
Wow.
So yeah.
What a timeline. Thank you for sharing that journey of just
Sure.
from the start. I mean, you've been in so many different groups before even that started.
Yeah, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
You know, I got to say, it's a beautiful thing how people come into your life for a reason.
Sure.
To plant the seed of also what your calling is.
Right.
So they saw that in you of, hey, you sound like Neil Diamond, right? So
Right.
they're already planting that seed.
Yeah.
And you're just like, huh, I never thought of that.
No.
But as time goes on, there's other people that come into your life, that there's other doors of opportunity.
Sure.
Hey, there's this show, there's this, meet this person.
Right, right.
And that's incredible because
Yeah.
that's what happens when it's meant for you.
Yeah.
Will come find you even through people. and
Yeah, it's
opportunities.
important to network and communicate with people along the way, because
yeah.
you never know who's going to make what kind of an offer.
You never
and I
know.
certainly never expected an offer from Las Vegas. You know, by 1989,
Wow.
I had been doing it for 6 or 7 years, and of course I get a call from Jon Stewart, who was the producer of Legends in Concert at the
Okay.
time, and he's just recently passed away, by the way, just a
Oh, I
couple
didn't
of
even
months
know
ago.
that.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
But John called me one day on the phone in Detroit. He said, I heard you do a great Neil Diamond, and I want you to come out here and audition tomorrow to Vegas. He said, I'll pay for everything, but I want to see you on stage tomorrow night. And I thought, well,
Oh, my God.
I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. Sure, why not? I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
And so I, on a plane the next day, flew out to Vegas here, and he put me on stage in between shows. The Legends show was doing 2 shows a night. So I went in between shows to audition for him, and he said, I like what you're doing. I think it's going to work out great for us. We'd love to have you as part of the show.
Wow.
And so he was deciding at that time to put together a brand new show called Living Legends.
Okay.
Because the whole premise, idea of Legends in Concert up to that point was that it was always tributes of people who had already passed away.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And so now he was putting a new show together in 1989, tributes of people who were still living today.
Still living. Okay.
So that group included myself, along with a Tina Turner impersonator, a Barbara Streisand, a Roy Orbison, and Michael Jackson.
Wow.
And so we had the 5 of us were performing the show in Reno for about 2 months. And when that show finished, John came to me and said, hey, I'd love to put you into the Vegas show full time.
Oh,
We worked out a deal. I moved here in 1990, and I've been here ever since.
Ever since.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, congrats on that. I mean, here you are.
Yeah.
After 35 years.
Yeah, I remember when
Wow.
I was 24 years old saying, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? What kind of job or occupation will I have? I was taking college classes in my 20s and had part-time jobs and just trying to figure out what direction I was going to go in, but never would have guessed I'd be singing for a living, or certainly singing even as Neil Diamond for a
Right,
living.
of course. That's amazing. I love it where you weren't even planning this and it just happens to present itself.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? I mean, that's the beauty of it too.
Right.
What's, like I said, what's meant for you will find you, your
Yeah.
calling, your purpose.
Yeah.
And when it does happen, just how it flows.
Right, right.
Now, here's the thing too I want to ask is, at all starting off,
Mm-hmm.
even in your 20s, did you ever have doubts of insecurity, of wondering, well, is this going to work? What about if I go out there maybe to Vegas, it doesn't work out, then what?
Sure.
Because here's one thing is we always want to learn from those who've been through that.
Right,
Because
right.
it does help others as well. But
Yeah.
how did you go through that?
Well, yeah, I mean, you do have those thoughts of, what if it doesn't work out? But I was married with my kids at the time in Detroit, and my wife said, you know what, let's do it for a year. If it doesn't work out, we can always move back to Detroit. I can always go back to the daytime job that I had at the time, which was selling life insurance, which I did not like at all.
No, you didn't like, okay.
And so, but I
Wow.
thought if worse comes to worse,
Yeah.
if that's what I have to do, I'll do what I have to do. But I was always looking for opportunities to do something in showbiz. Once I kind of got my feet wet and got to the point where I was actually performing, to some degree on a fairly regular basis, and then once, of course, the Neil Diamond thing clicked in, I thought, well, let me see how long this can last. Certainly, if Jon Stewart, the producer of Legends, had not liked what I did well enough, or if for whatever reason things didn't work out between us,
Yeah.
he would have said thank you very much, and
Right.
I would have moved on from there. But no, it worked out. I was there for about almost 9 years.
Wow, 9 years.
And by that time, I was kind of I was kind of burned out on just because the Legend show was 5 acts in the show every night in a 90-minute show.
Wow,
so each act only had about 15 minutes on stage.
Really? Just
So
15?
yeah,
Wow.
so because he wanted 5 or 6
Yeah,
acts in the
so they had
show.
to switch off,
And
yeah.
so, you know, it was a good training ground for me. It got me to learn how Vegas works. It got me to see how shows are produced. And all of that was a good learning experience.
Yeah.
But by that time I felt like, you know what, I want to do more. I don't want to just be performing 4 or 5 songs a night for the rest of my life. So what else can I do? So I went to John and I said, look, I'm gonna go ahead and move on. I've got an agent in Missouri who said, I think I could get you some bookings if you put a band together. And so I started looking into that. I just wanted to expand this as much as possible. But I kept looking for or trying to create additional opportunities beyond that. And one thing leads to another. And like we said earlier, you meet people, you talk to people, and before you know it, I mean, the career has lasted now, you know, over 35 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I want to add more to that.
Okay.
So I saw an interview yesterday with David Bowie.
Right.
And I'm a huge fan of Bowie.
Sure.
He's such a legend. But he said something along the lines that right now what you just said just made just perfect what he agreed with on this, where he says, I think it's, if you're trying to just be in your safe zone and what you're comfortable with, you're never going to go further than that.
Right, exactly.
But if you're in the waters and you go further in that and you can't feel the ground of the bottom of the ocean, or the way he said it, land, he says that means you're doing something right, because you're pushing yourself in a depth further that you haven't challenged yourself.
Right.
And once you do that, then you'll start to see some side of you, of your art, what you're working on, in a way that you never thought possible.
Yeah, well, lots of
and
people,
I love that. You know,
lots of people come up with ideas of things they want to do with their life, but then they never take the steps. They never take a step or 2 or 3 to see if it's going to work out, because they tell themselves, well, what if it doesn't work? What if I fail? Or what if they don't like me? Or, you know, all the what ifs that keep them from pursuing their dream or anything that they might want to do. And so you really have to step outside that comfort zone once in a while.
And it's not easy
and say, you know what, I'm just going to go for it.
Go for it.
If you fall on your face, if nothing else, you learn from the experience. You learn what not to do the next time. And you try something else again and just keep moving. Especially if you love what you do and you have passion for it, that also is a good motivator to kind of keep you going.
Well said. And if you have that passion, that fire, it's a learning experience. You're not a failure if it doesn't work out. You just learned from it, and you find other alternatives. Yeah.
Exactly.
So well said. Yeah, that was great. But yeah, Bowie, what he said was like perfect. He's just saying, if you're staying in the same spot and you're in your comfort zone, you're not going to move so much more that's out there for you. You need to get out of that and start branching out. And do stuff that will make you uncomfortable, because you'll start to see more of an impact on what you're working on.
And then you won't be successful with everything you try.
Of course,
But sometimes you will be, and when you are, sometimes those small successes give you confidence to keep going.
That's right.
You know, so yeah.
Awesome. Well said. Well, moving on to the show at SouthPoint, it was 4 days, right? 4 days back to back. That's incredible. Like, it was sold out 4 days in a row. Like,
that was
amazing.
Nice.
Yeah. So when I saw you, it was so beautifully done. Just the show, the way you had the visuals in the background. I mean, did you create all that? I mean, who was the one that kind of thought of that idea for you?
It was me. Yeah.
Wow,
I sat down.
job.
I actually sat down on my computer and thought, and I took the songs of Neil Diamond, and I listened to the song, and I thought, what visual picture comes to mind for me for this song? And so for each one is uniquely different, of course, and so I put it all together.
That's
and,
amazing.
And it helps create a mood and an atmosphere.
It does.
It's like when you're watching a play, there's always a backdrop of some kind on stage. It might be an indoor scene, so it might be a kitchen or a living room or whatever it is. And so I try to envision, what does this song of Neil Diamond's feel like to me? What might it feel like for the audience? And let me create something that expresses
to go
that.
with that. Well done on that, because my family and I really love the visuals too.
Good.
That went with the music.
Right.
That was great. And so also moving on from that show, you've been on other in the past, Jay Leno's show.
Sure.
That's amazing. You were part of that?
Well, it was part of Legends in Concert. Legends got to be on the show with Jay Leno.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, just having that experience, meeting Jay, we got a
Oh,
picture
man.
taken together.
That's
and,
so cool.
and being on the program was just, yeah, it was a wonderful experience. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I remember I used to watch Jay Leno a lot.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, but just for you to be on that set,
Yeah.
awesome,
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Well, speaking of sets, I know you were on a film, Frost Nixon, directed by Ron Howard.
Right.
I'm definitely a huge fan of Howard, but
Oh, yeah.
how was that experience working with Ron?
That was, again, uniquely beautiful. I mean, it was just, I thought to myself, if I never get a chance to ever do anything like this again, I'm fine. I got to go to Hollywood.
Yep.
I mean, he was looking for somebody to portray Neil Diamond for one scene in the movie.
Okay.
And it was supposed to be David Frost's birthday party. Okay. And so in this giant ballroom, tables and chairs having dinner, were, you know, a lot of celebrities, from Hollywood celebrities. So of course in the movie they had a lot of Hollywood lookalikes sitting at different tables.
Yeah.
And they needed me to sing the theme song from the movie up on stage with a piano player. And so it was a short scene. I wasn't in it for a long time, but I did get to be there. I got to go to the premiere. The song itself, the movie is called Frost Nixon.
Yeah.
So what they did was they took the Dean Martin song, Love and Marriage, Love and Marriage, Love and Marriage. Yeah. And I had to sing Frost and Nixon, Frost and Nixon.
Oh, wow.
And there was a whole new set of lyrics that went along with that. Now, again, it was only cut down to a small segment on camera, but I was just grateful that I didn't get cut out completely.
Well, of course not, yeah.
And I got to meet Frank Langella and Michael Sheen, who played David Frost.
That's right, Michael Sheen.
He and I sat down and had dinner together on the set one day, and so just what a wonderful experience. Kevin Bacon was in that movie.
That's right, Kevin Bacon was there.
So I got to meet him in the trailer when we were doing our makeup, you know, that kind of thing.
Wow.
And then of course when the movie premiered in Hollywood, we got to walk the red carpet. And so you're walking the red carpet with all the photographers and go into the building, and we go in and sit down in the theater, and Ron Howard and Brian Grazier come up to the front of the stage, and they thank everybody for being part of the production, and then they showed the movie, of course, and we all got to see it for the first time.
Wow.
And then after that, there was a party in the lobby of the theater, just hors d'oeuvres and drinks and stuff, and people milling around. So I'm, you know, in my head, I'm thinking this goofy kid from Detroit, Michigan, is standing here talking to Michael Sheen and Kevin Bacon and all these great actors. You know, we're just kind of having hors d'oeuvres and making conversation.
Yeah.
So I had I had one of the programs with me for the movie.
Okay.
And I had it inside my jacket. So I thought, well, I'm not going to pass up this opportunity.
Right.
So whenever I met somebody, I pulled the program out. Would you sign this for me? And got autographs of several of the people along the way. So
that's so cool.
It was a very wonderful experience.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, incredible experience.
Yeah.
Did you ever, just to ask, take photos with anyone?
Well, I got with Michael Sheen and then with Ron Howard.
Okay, cool.
I'm trying to think. I don't think I caught anybody else. I think those were the only two I grabbed.
Yeah, no, Ron Howard especially. Like, and Martin Sheen's cool. I love Martin, but Kevin Bacon too. Such an awesome actor. So,
oh yeah.
That's awesome. You were part of that.
Yeah.
And also during your career, as Neil Diamond tribute, you've met him twice.
We've met twice.
Yeah.
First time was it was the December of 1996.
Okay.
He had played and opened the Aladdin Center for the Performing Arts in Las Vegas when that opened in 1976.
Wow, okay.
And Neil had not played Vegas for those 20 years in between. Finally in 96, he was coming to Vegas for the first time in 20 years. I had my representative called his publicist. They said, you know, he said, Jay would like to meet Neil at backstage somehow or however you want sometime while Neil is here doing his shows. And so they coordinated it, made it happen, and I got to go backstage. My wife and I went back together, and we got to chat for a couple of minutes. He was already in show costume, so it was about 20 minutes before he walked out on stage. And so we got to chat for a couple of minutes, and I was a little bit nervous because I thought, geez, there's so many things I want to talk to the guy and ask him about it. And he's got to go on stage in 15 or 20 minutes. I don't have time to do that, but we did get to chat. We took a picture together, and then he signed the photo for me, and he wrote, "Keep singing so I can stay home and relax." And I thought that was about the best compliment I could have gotten from the guy. You know?
Oh, definitely.
And prior, though, to meeting him in '96, I working with Legends during those years. And probably 1993, somewhere around there, Neil Diamond's mother came to Las Vegas because she had heard about this guy performing as her son
Oh
in
my
this Legend
God.
show, and she wanted to see the show and meet me.
Wow.
And so the secretary got a call at the office one day, and she called me and said, Jay, I've got a woman on the other line. She says it's Rose Diamond, Neil's mom, and she wants to see you in the show tonight.
Oh my God.
So I went, before the show started, I met her in the lobby before the show, and we chatted for a couple of minutes, and she was very nice, and we took a photo together, and then we did the show, and I got her a great seat near the front. And during the concert, she was clapping, and I could see her singing along with me. And
That's
I thought,
so cool.
I thought, wow, this is the endorsement that I really need. You know?
Right, of course.
And so after the show, we got to say hello again. Now she comes out after the show. She looks at me. She says, "Oh my God, you're just like my son on stage." She
What
said
a
you have his
compliment.
eyes, and she said you just did a wonderful
That's
job.
amazing.
And so that was, like I said, somewhere around 92 or 93.
Yeah.
So now, flash forward about 6 months later after that, Neil Diamond is performing at the Forum in Los Angeles. So I decide, it's close enough. I'm going to get tickets. I want to go see Neil in concert.
Yeah.
So I get tickets, and I'm trying to meet with some friends who live in LA that we were going to meet there at the theater. So I'm standing near my seat, and I'm looking around to see if I can find the friend of mine. They were going to be in the area, and I heard my name being called from behind me, and I turn around, and I look back, and about 15 rows up was Neil Diamond's mother. We had just met 6 months earlier at Legends. So here she is at the Forum. She waves me up. So my wife and I go up the stairs. We stop and say hello to her. And Neil's brother was sitting with her.
Okay.
His name's Harvey. And so she introduced me to Harvey. We shook hands. And Harvey looks at me and says, I feel like I'm meeting a long-lost brother.
Really? Yeah, that is funny, man.
So, yeah, I mean, it's not like I don't look identical to
Right,
Neil,
but-
but I look like we're related,
Oh, of
for
course,
sure.
yeah. That's funny, man.
And so that was very cute, yeah.
Well, at least you got also the approval from the mother and brother.
And then she went home and told Neil about me that year. So, of course, 3 or 4 years later, when I met Neil in Vegas, then he had already heard about me and was very complimentary. Yeah.
And especially getting a great compliment, especially after the autograph. That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's huge.
yeah.
Especially coming from Neil himself.
Sure.
And also, speaking of your own shows, you definitely have traveled around. You traveled Australia, Canada, Japan, Ireland.
Right, yeah.
Like, that's amazing to
Some
see
of
those
those
incredible countries.
Yeah, some of those shows were with Legends, some were just on my own.
Yeah.
And when I was in Japan, I went to Hiroshima, where they had dropped the bomb, and to see kind of that area. There was a monument type of a thing that was still there from World War II. Yeah. Going to Ireland was interesting. We were driving to the theater, and somebody pointed out and said, "There's the dock where the Titanic was built." And so we got to see that. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, and then Hawaii, when I was there, of course, the Arizona, the ship that's from World War II, that's at the bottom of the waters there and in Hawaii.
Wow.
They have that monument, so I got to see something like that. When I was in Dallas, Texas, I decided to go to Dealey Plaza, the school book depository where JFK was assassinated on that street.
Wow. Okay.
And so the bookstore depository where Oswald had taken the shot from the 6th floor, you go up to the 6th floor, and it's a museum up there. And it's all about what happened on that day to JFK and what transpired during that time. And so it's always been interesting to go to these different places and see these historical things that had happened along the way. And then in 2002, Neil came back to Las Vegas, by the way, and to do some more shows.
Okay.
And we got to meet for the second time, because you had mentioned we'd met a couple of times.
Yeah.
And second time we met, they had a video camera pointed at the two of us backstage again, right before he was going on stage.
Yeah.
And so I didn't think anything of it. We chatted again for a few minutes, and then he went out and did his show, and I went to my seat and watched the show. And about 6 months later, Neil and the band had been on tour that entire year of 2002.
Okay.
And so they also had taken that cameraman and a whole film crew with them to document that tour for that year.
Wow.
And then at the end of the year, when it was all done filming, they put together a box set called Stages, 1970 to 2002.
Wow. Okay.
And it was 5 CDs of all of his songs from the last 50 years. and one DVD of him and the band on the road doing their thing. And a friend of mine, when that came out, called me and said, Jay, you've got to get Neil's new box set, Stages, because you're on it. And I said, I am not. She said, you are, you're on it. So I went and got it. Well, that DVD that was part of that box set, again, they had been filming for the whole year, and one of the clips that they used on his DVD was him and I talking and chatting backstage before the concert.
That's amazing.
So again,
dude.
I felt very complimented and very honored that they kept that clip and actually put it onto his DVD. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm really happy for you that you were part of that legacy of that collection.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow, Jay. Good for you. Well, as we get into this journey now where you're at after an incredible 35 plus years, what's next for you in this year?
Well, let's see, I've been lucky enough over the last, one of Neil's musicians, his percussionist, if you were there, you probably saw him. He started with Neil in 1974. His name is King Arison.
Okay.
And King played on every concert tour and every album Neil did from 1974 all the way to Neil's retirement, which was in 2017. Well, King and I met about 22 years ago, and he performed a show with me for the first time in Southern California. And so he's done about 300 shows now with us over the last 20 years that he and I have been working together. When he wasn't on tour with Neil, and he lives in Las Vegas, so when he wasn't on tour with Neil, he'd come and play with us in the band, and that was always a treat. And then just within the last 3 years or so, 4 years or so, Neil's guitar player, Nick Bennett, has been playing with us in a lot of our shows out of town when we're traveling.
Nice.
And Nick's dad is Richard Bennett. And Richard was in Neil's band for 20 years during the 70s and 80s.
Oh, wow. Okay.
During the 80s, of course, Richard and his wife had a baby, little boy, named him Nick.
Okay.
Nick learned to play guitar as well as his dad, which was really phenomenal. And so to have the son of one of the musicians from Neil's band playing in our band, and Nick and his son and his dad, Richard, got to play with Neil together in Neil's band for Neil's final 50-year anniversary tour.
Wow, that's awesome.
So they got to do it together as father and son. But for the future, I'm just going to keep going. Every year I start to think to myself, gee, I wonder how much longer people are going to appreciate Neil Diamond music. And you think at some point it could end, but so far so good.
So far so good.
We do the SouthPoint 3 times a year here in Vegas, and then we just travel 2, 3, 4 cities a month, performing all over the country. Pretty much any state, everything from Southern California to all the way up to Nova Scotia, Canada.
Wow.
We do an Eastern Canada tour, a Western Canada tour. We're going to do Ontario, the province of Ontario Canada tour in October.
Oh, good. So you have some shows coming up.
We've got. Oh, sure. Yeah, we're booked all the way into next summer at this point.
Oh my God! So next summer, good for you.
Oh, sure. And
that's awesome.
I've got a couple of agents that work with us regularly. One of them is Indy Baku. She's out of New York City, and she's been booking me for about 4 or 5 years, along with Mark Hellman. And so they've been doing a great job for me and keeping us busy. And we'll keep it going as long as we can.
Yeah, please do, because it is an incredible show, and I can see why it's the #1 Neil Diamond tribute. So great job, and congrats to you and the team as well.
Yeah.
Well, I got to say, one of my favorite songs from the show was "Cherry Cherry" when you performed it on stage. That's one of my favorites. But of course, "Sweet Caroline," all the other classics.
Sure.
But one thing I just want to say because you mentioned it, let's see how long this will go.
Right.
But for you as a legend as well, after 35 years, that's a huge accomplishment, especially for Neil Diamond, that you're portraying him and just what you're doing, just to keep his music alive.
Yeah.
What do you want your fans and your family and friends to remember you by once you decide to say, you know what, I'm ready to just retire from this?
Let it go. At this point, I'm not thinking about retirement at all because I'm still enjoying what I'm doing.
Right, of course, yeah.
And it's nice too that fans have come to me, fans of Neil Diamond, that have seen Neil Diamond 100, 200 times during their lifetime.
Wow.
And they come, sometimes they drive from other states to come and see our show wherever we're performing. And so you mentioned it's nice to keep that legacy alive. Neil retired in 2017. due to Parkinson's disease.
Really? I didn't know if he had that.
Yeah, and
Oh,
so he had to
wow.
retire in 2017
Okay.
at age 76 is how
Wow.
old he was at the
Okay.
time. And so for the last, 8 or 9 years, he's been home spending time with family, his
Yeah.
kids, he's got grandkids. And so I know he's been enjoying that ride for a while now. But yeah, I'm glad that I'm able to keep the legacy going.
Yeah.
No plans to retire. We'll just keep going until people don't want to hear Neil's music anymore, I guess.
All right.
Yeah.
No, yeah, but they'll remember you of just how great you were in just connecting with people. They'll remember you of just saying, you know what, I gave it all my best.
Sure.
And that I always made sure that everyone felt like they were one in just that song and it was to them.
I learned a long time ago when I first started performing as Neil. Of course, I needed to kind of perfect the voice, get it as close as I could.
Right.
I wanted to get as close as I could visually for the looks,
Yeah.
style the hair, or do a little bit of makeup as needed. No plastic surgery. Didn't go there at all.
Good job for that. Yeah, man.
But as I learned to do the impression or the personation, I realized that there's more to it than just singing the songs and trying to look or sound like Neil. You have to have a stage persona. Any performer does.
Right.
A stage persona that really grabs a hold of the audience and brings them in.
Right.
And that's what I noticed about Neil Diamond the several times. I saw maybe a dozen times over 30 years. And with every show that I saw, he was able to do that. He had a great stage persona. And I always thought to myself years ago when I started, if I can capture some of that when I'm on stage, that will make it feel more authentic, more real to the audience. I've had people come up to me after a show and say, now listen, I know you're the real Neil Diamond. And I would say, no, I'm not. I live in Las Vegas. I've been performing as Neil for quite a few years. And he said, I know you have to say that, but I know you're the real Neil Diamond. So, and I said, okay, thank you. I appreciate the compliment, and kind of let it go at that. But so it's nice to give people that authentic Neil concert feeling when they're there.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
That's a great compliment, especially from them to see that in you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Jay, I got to say, it's been such a pleasure to have you on Rhythm and Roads.
Well, thank you for having me.
And just the journey, thank you for just being that light to other artists as well.
Well, I
really,
appreciate it,
because I mean, your story is going to be that beacon of hope for other people.
Right.
To be like, yeah, I want to try something. I want to keep going in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because you didn't give up. You kept going and you believed in yourself.
And if they just take one step at a time, just do one thing today that you didn't do yesterday that you think might be helpful, and keep networking with people, because you never know what kind of an opportunity will arise.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah.
How can the viewers stay updated on your shows and what's to come? You have your website.
So the website is jaywhiteshow.com. So Jay, White, and SHOW.com. And that's where my schedule is, and some other information is there. And my agent, Indy, keeps that kind of up to date. And so, go there and check out, see where we're going to be next. Our schedule is there, and come up and say hello the next time we're in your town. Yeah.
No, it sounds good, and we look forward to your next show, hopefully next year for Vegas again.
Yeah, we'll be back March and July, and then at the end of the year again next year.
I would love to see your show again.
I appreciate it. Yeah, anytime. Yes. Anytime you want to come down, let me know.
Sounds good.
All right.
Well, guys, if you'd like to come on and share your story or your testimony, my Instagram is Joshua Jacob Official. I believe every story matters. Every story can impact someone's dream, who either is starting a new dream, resurrecting an old dream, or on the edge of giving up. So one story like Jay's here can be that light of inspiration to keep going and not give up. So feel free to contact me and we can get you scheduled for that. Well, Jay White, thank you again, sir, for coming on Rhythm and Roads Las Vegas.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, and guys, this is Joshua Jacob with Rhythm and Roads Las Vegas. I'll catch you on the next episode. Thank you for watching.